forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
What wonderful, wonderful. So I think that's great, and have a wonderful morning. And let's start with our first question today.
Yeah, certainly. So our first question is from an anonymous user. They ask, how do you align a candidate's long-term career trajectory with EB1A narrative so the petition feels credible and future-oriented?
That's a very brilliant question, and I would say after a long time, I think this is one of my favorite questions. I would say this actually. I think this is the most important aspect because I have always been saying that when you apply for your EB1, you get it because of your three reasons. The first is you are an expert, second is US will benefit, and third is that you will continue in your field of endeavor. Now you have to use those 10 criterias to prove those 3 points. In addition to this, I think you need to already, I think the best way what we have seen doing is that you have to give some kind of a narrative or an action plan or a business plan, what you are planning to do and how you are committed to this. That's the first and the most important thing I would say. We have always been suggesting to people to do this actually in terms of aligning your own career goals, what you are planning to do and otherwise narrative so that it's not about only petition feels credible, it has to be credible. And we tell them people to give it more as a declaration about themselves, about their career goals, how they will want to do about it. So some people give business plan or some people give how they want to continue in the field of expertise. It's pretty straightforward. Give it in form of a personal statement in terms of your business plan, how you plan to take it actually forward. Because if you don't do it, I think it's a petition becomes extremely weak here right now. So I would always suggest this to be done. And it's not only feeling credible, but it has to be authentic and probative also. In addition to that, the question is very deep, but sometimes the question is innocently simple and you get into a very deep response. But sometimes the question is very deep and the response is very simple. And this is one of those questions actually. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Of course, another aspirant asks, what role does timing play in EB1A success and how do you decide when a profile is ready to file versus still in the building phase?
Okay, this is a question more from a legal jurisprudence perspective. I think it has to do a lot with your field of expertise. And how narrow is your field, how accomplished you are in your field. I think the question is very simple here to answer. I'm trying to make this sound very simple. That number one, timing would play a role to an extent if you are able to prove that you are one of the top achievers or one of the top in your field of expertise. So what does this mean that you have been top in your field of expertise? Is that fundamentally, I think we again go back to the basic, who is an expert? And you ask 90% of the people that who is an expert, I think the answer comes a person who has a tremendous knowledge about a particular field of expertise. This is not the right answer. The right answer is the person who has been able to solve a problem that existed. How the world would have been or how your own expertise would have been without your field of, if you weren't there in your field of expertise. So let's put it this way. Let's take a case of truly extraordinary people in our lives. How the field of physics been if Einstein were not there? How would, field of mobile phones been? Let us take a case of mobile phones or personal computers if Bill Gates and Steve Jobs did not exist. So the question is that how would the field be there if whatever field that Mario may choose for himself or Syria may choose for himself or herself would be if you were not in your field of expertise. If you can answer these questions and you have actually solved some problems, I think that's the right way to do it. I'm not even looking at from the lens of the criteria here. And trust me, if somebody has solved a major problem, everything will fall into place. I mean, again, my favorite example, you create a rocket which can fly to Mars and come back without refueling. I mean, just a hypothetical scenario. I mean, you have already solved a major problem. There is already somebody, okay, you have created a material, again, a hypothetical scenario. You have created a material that can withstand the, kind of a heat of the sun on the surface. I mean, some material, some hypothetical scenario. You have already solved a major problem, actually. So what problem have you solved in your field of expertise? Experts don't talk about their field. Experts have solved the problem. And how big was the problem? Was it tried before? I mean, I think these are some fundamental questions. It is matter. Timing doesn't play. The question is, it also depends on what is your field of expertise and how many people exist. We have had one gentleman called, somebody who was in the field of software performance testing. He's a software engineer. Now, when I was talking to him, I said, okay, how many software performance testers are there? His field was in a healthcare industry. So he said roughly around 10,000 in the US or maybe in the world. So I said, where do you belong right now? So he said around 500. I said, what it would take for you to become in the top 25? So I said, how would the top 25 be different from somebody who is in the top 500 where you belong? So he said, what type of problems they would be solving? Identify those problems and then try to become that person of excellence who solve it. Not by knowledge, but by actual actions and the impact that you create. So that is the answer to this, that what role timing play in EB1A success. Actually, it doesn't play anything. It plays in what you could have somebody could be just 30-year-old and could have solved a major problem. It's as simple as that. Okay, so let's go to next question.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next question, they ask, what types of professional experience are often undervalued by applicants but highly persuasive to the USCIS?
Now, understand that there are three dimensions of kind of issues that are impactful or kind of persuasive to USCIS. Is what knowledge base you have, coupled with what is your progressive experience, and third is what is the impact because of that. But however, please remember, you can leverage your impact by virtue of your knowledge and your progressive experience, but progressive experience by itself does not make any difference. Understand that. It doesn't matter what is your experience per se, actually. Because what matters is the impact. Now the question here comes is that what type of professional experience are often undervalued by the applicants. Now this is going to be, it's a little, because since the question is tricky to an extent of asking about that what type of, so you are prioritizing professional experience. Something I would still like to respond to this by saying that, okay, which can create or which can demonstrate the creation of an impact to an highest order. Now, if you were to ask me this, I would still look at from the lens of the impact, not from the lens of the experience or knowledge. Now, we had one particular person working with one of the leading US banks. And in his entire career of 15 years, he would have spent maybe 30 to 40 days on a particular project. Now, that project meant creating an app for the bank, which was later sold to somebody with a close to 100 million valuation with some 2 million customers. Now, this was a tremendous value. So it's not about timing sometimes, but he had no idea. But later on, when we filed his petition, his lawyer and we worked very closely with the lawyer, and we could present that as his original contribution. And definitely without RFE, he got his approval. Now, do you see what I'm saying? That we have got an original contribution created in a professional experience only in 40 days. And he could produce those evidences with that. So but remember, the knowledge that he acquired to undertake that job was his underlying asset was his 15 years of experience. So it is not about only professional experience. So sometimes I think I would rather answer this question in a very broad way, that people don't realize the importance of their own work, what they have done. Though they feel that, okay, they are part of a small screw, part of a big machine, but sometimes even that small screw would have played a very major role to an extent that it has created a major impact. Okay, so that's what I would like to say here. So don't undermine any of your, however small, with reference to time it might be, but what matters is the impact and what is the intensity of the work that you would have done, which people at times don't, because sometimes we are trained to think that how my work benefited only my company, not to the external stakeholders. So if you are able to visualize that any work that you have done created an impact to, say, n number of people, and n is a maximum order, I think that is something that is can be USCIS will definitely appreciate it. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
So just to clarify, it seems to be more so stop looking at EB1A in like the micro sense, but you really have to see like the overall impact on the macro, like impact and expertise of what you've done. So it's not necessarily, you did something small, but that small thing turned out to have like a huge innovation to your industry. So like that's going to be their major contribution. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely. That's the way we need to look at actually. And I like your, thinking agility to this extent actually, that yes, you need to kind of present it in this particular manner. And what has been the impact of it? I mean, more from a philosophical perspective, I think we always ask our students, okay, how would the world be like, or your expertise would have looked if you were not part of that field of expertise? Ask yourself that question. Would it matter or not? I mean, if it doesn't matter, then you don't matter. Then it doesn't make any sense. But yes, it matters. Certain things that you did could not have come into existence. Then it makes a difference. So I like this question, but as I said, I'm trying to respond to this in a very different way. So let's move to the next.
Of course. So the next question is, hello, I haven't started building my profile and I'm not really sure where to start. At the starting stage, which criteria tend to be the most strategically efficient to build first and why? Anything in specific that I should focus on first? I have a financial background with around 15 years of experience.
Okay, I am looking at the last part just now, which is very important. Now, here comes a very interesting part, that your profile, you may be, if somebody has a 15 years of experience, and if you say that you have already been on H1B visa in the USA, you may already be much closer than what you think you might be actually, which many people don't realize it before they come to us actually. I think I would not like to comment on this particular question because I don't really have specifics about you. Just by saying that a financial background in 15 years, so what exactly you have been doing, we need to get more granular. But I personally would say that if you say that you have been in the USA, now that 15 years is very important. That is it a 15 years? It was one of my favorite questions I used to ask during an interview. That somebody said that I have a 10 years of experience. So I would say, is it a 1 year of experience multiplied by 10 times? Or is it 1 plus 1 plus 1 10 times? So every year you did something different. Remember, in 10 years or in 15 years, we are talking about a kid who is in kindergarten has passed out, has graduated. So so you imagine his intellectual acumen that has grown over a period. Now, in this case, how that acumen has impacted the life, we have to see that actually. So this is something which is going to be important. So I would rather, so please reach out to Mario or Syria or I, and we'll be able to help you in a more understanding way. So this would be too premature to comment without even knowing your resume, your LinkedIn profile or something like this. Okay, so let's move to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question they ask, I'm curious, do you have any stress testing you do before you file a petition to avoid any RFEs at the next league?
Definitely. I mean, as I said, that there are certain checklists we do maintain in terms of evidences. And sometimes I think one of the best, if we're talking about stress testing that we're talking about, is what are the quantitative metrics and qualitative metrics that you are trying to use for each of the criteria actually. If people have been able to do that successfully, it has worked very impactfully for us. Actually. But yes, answering to your question, yes, it is there. One of the things is that what are the qualitative metrics, and we have certain frameworks to prove or establish this, and how those metrics can be useful. We have to create a narrative around that. Actually, the profundity of your expertise. That's another thing. In terms of your critical role, okay, what are the different, kind of a documentations that you produce? What are the metrics that you prove? What's your scope of authority? So if you have all letters and everything in order, we have seen things work very well. And we do this professionally assessed either through a lawyer or through a paralegal, and we have an expert, somebody who has filed multiple petitions, and after seeing more than only successful petitions, also the unsuccessful petitions, what we would have seen would have given us a fair idea about it. Okay, so yes, I like this question. Yes, we do have the stress testing process. Okay, so let's talk out.
Okay, so the next question is, with all the fraud organization out there, I feel the next leak has some legitimacy after reviewing your website, with it being an Arizona Supreme Court approved ABS. So my question is, how do you maintain credibility and ethical integrity while still building an aggressive case?
Okay, I mean, aggressive case is not about giving a false documentation. I want to make it very clear here that first, NextLeak is not a done for you agency or a company or a consultant. So we can, it's like this, you go to a driving school, and because you want to learn how to drive. So as any coaching institute or any learning education institute, we teach you how to drive. We'll tell you exactly what to do, how to use GPS, all the rules and regulations we'll teach you, and we'll place you before the DMV officer. He may choose to test you, and you have to pass your test. It's as simple as that. It's not that somebody will replace you and substitute you for the test, or you sit at home and somebody else will do the job for you. That is not going to kind of work for something. So I think when you talk about aggressive case, what do you mean by that? Aggressive doesn't mean forging a case. Aggressive is in the presentation of a legal part. Okay, let me give you a very simple illustration that according to us, what does an aggressive case means to us actually here. Aggressive case doesn't mean that, okay, somebody who has not reached to a level of expertise or in the top, we try to push him towards that. There are certain evidences which may be, let's use the word, bit of esoteric. Now, let's say we had one particular person who worked for a particular company, and whatever work that person did, the work by the company was represented in a media in a very big way actually. A national media had covered that, but that person's name was not there. Okay, but it was not there because the company had a policy of not displaying the names of individuals working as in terms of making somebody celebrity out of a particular project or a case. And it was a government project, by the way. So even they had to be much more sensitive. Now, in this particular case, how we did it, because we requested the company to give a letter addressed to USCIS. And then already there is a media cover that letter said that, look, let's say we're talking about Mario. So Mario has been responsible for doing this work, getting this project from the government and doing everything. And it was largely represented in media. And but for Mario, we would not have got this successful. Something to that effect. Now, connecting all the things, which is like there's a doctrine of constituting documents together and presenting a case where the media criteria is being highlighted, but without the name of the person. This is an aggressive case. So aggression is demonstrated not by pushing somebody where it is by it's like putting a hydrogen balloon and somebody going up. No, it's not like this. It's actually about using certain legal doctrines, meritocracy of a person, and demonstrating the true meritocracy of a person would be an aggressive stand. And this is how we like to do this actually. Okay, and I mean, even before we were not a Arizona Supreme Court approved ABS, we would still continue to do it in the same way. So, I mean, the law firm not because we are an Arizona Supreme Court approved ABS, so we are ethical. We are ethical, so we got this license. Let's take it that way. Okay. So let's move to the last question for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So our last question is, if you had to redesign an EB1A profile from scratch today, what would you do differently based on recent trends?
I think we have to see what the government is looking for, as simple as that. What is the national priority? And we'll just say that whether that national priority or that person's expertise is an enabler to the national priority, or whether it is a direct in connection with that, as simple as that. So when we talk about a scratch today, it's not about somebody we don't take people who are straight out of college or something. It is not possible for us to do that. Then it will become a 5-year program actually. In this particular case, we are talking about somebody who is just kind of getting, who has some kind of an experience, and we will try to present it. And if there are, so we have this done process. So we would still continue to follow this, but we would make it in alignment with the national priority. Okay, so that's all I have today, friends. And thank you, Syria and Mario, and thank you for joining. And if you need to have questions, more questions, please reach out to us. And if you want to join the Next League program, please reach out to Mario, Syria, or I. Will be always be there to help you. And wish you all the best, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.